Hello and welcome to Tween Project Play-doh soap. So with everything, we always start with what you are provided and what you will need. So you are provided with 1 cup of cornstarch, a half a cup of liquid Castile soap. This is unscented and the baby kind, so it's great for sensitive skin. Speaking as someone who has sensitive skin, pretty solid stuff. A tablespoon of coconut oil, your mica powder, which should be in 3 little bags, and some essential oil, and a little container of extra cornstarch for kneading the dough. What you will need is you will need a microwave safe bowl, a microwave in itself, and a spoon. Or if you're like me and you want to get in there with your hands, I highly recommend gloves, just because mica powders will stay in the skin until they get fully mixed in. All right, so starting with step 1, we have our cornstarch in a medium-sized bowl. I'm gonna move those to the side. So there's our cornstarch, and to that, we are going to add our liquid soap. So pop the top, grab our half a cup. Now technically with liquids, you are supposed to use a liquid measuring cup, but as long as you are careful and you make sure you get it all the way to the top, you can use a dry goods measuring cup if needs be, but preferably try to use liquid measuring cups with liquids. All right, so we've added our Castile soap. So now we have to melt our coconut in our microwave. It shouldn't take you any more than 10 to 20 seconds to melt this. And once it is melted, we're gonna pour that directly into this and we're gonna start making our dough. All right, I will see you after I melt my coconut oil. All right, so as you can tell, I'm wearing a different shirt and our camera's at a slightly different angle, but that is because of the original take. Some of it got corrupted, so we have to refilm a little bit of it. So we're gonna start right after you get your your coconut oil melted. And we're gonna pour that straight on top of your cornstarch and your liquid soap. You're gonna wanna make sure that you give a couple shakes. Try and get all the coconut oil out of there that you can. It's wonderful for the skin and it's wonderful for the human body inside and out. So, all right, I'm gonna put on my glove and then I am going to mix this together to make a dough. And that's the wonderful thing about cornstarch is it seems like it's automatically just absorbed everything. But you have to get in there and you really do need to make sure that you mix it all around, and you really want to try and make sure that it starts to actually come together like a dough for, say, like bread or muffins or anything else, but mostly, you know, bread dough, because soon we're going to be having Tween Bake Off Savory. I think there's still a couple spots open, and we're going to learn to make Amish white bread, which is delicious. Homemade bread is one of the true pleasures that there is in the world. Okay, so I'm going to scrape off my glove here, shake off, grab anything that's been fallen out. And because it's still a little bit crumbly at the bottom, I'm just gonna keep breaking apart this bigger section, because anything that gets together and stays together means that it's got liquid in it, combining it. Okay, yeah, that's looking pretty solid. Okay. So now we're gonna separate the soap dough into 3 different bowls, 1 for each color that we're using. So I'm gonna take about a good handful of the soap dough, and I'm gonna pop that in there. I'm gonna reach in, I'm gonna take a good handful of the soap dough, pop that in there. And then there should be at least a good handful, yeah, left over that's in the bowl that we already are using. There's no need to make more mess than we already have. Okay, so I'm gonna pop off my glove here and we'll get to the next step. All right, so our next step is we're gonna add our mica powder and our essential oils. Now your essential oil is in a small cup, which is perfectly fine. Now it says on the instructions to add about 3 drops per color that you're using. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. And I am using the same essential oil that you guys are, which is a sweet orange essential oil. It's really nice. I like it for soaps and things because it's very refreshing. It's very clean smelling without feeling very sticky or overpowering like some scents can. And then we're gonna add our colors. So I've got bronze, which is this really, really pretty shiny brown. But it is absolutely beautiful, and I'm gonna put that right in here. I'm gonna add 1 and a little bit more. Now with mica powder, honestly, you do not need very much at all. The more you use, the more it will likely stain your hands and stain whatever you're actually putting this in. So trust me, from experience, go light on the mica powder because you can always add a little bit extra if it's not quite up to what you want for a color. All right, so I'm gonna add the rest of my colors to my dough, and I will see you when we are ready to hit the next step. There we go. All right, so when it comes to working in your mica powders to your stuff, yes, the next step is to place additional cornstarch onto a clean surface and then put the dough immediately down and knead it until it becomes a shapeable dough. Personally, from my experience with mica powders, unless you want to stain your table or your work surface, work it a little bit until the mica powder is fairly worked in the bowl, then turn it out onto the surface. So I'm gonna put these 2 aside. I'm gonna start with this one. See my mica powder in there. So I'm just going to go in here and mix my mica powder around and make sure that it's not just gonna fall directly onto the table and stain the table. Okay? So we're just mixing it in there, making sure that it's all there, which is great. That's really what we're looking for. Okay, so see how shimmery my glove got just because I was playing with the mica powder? And that's what it looks like right now. All right, so now we're on our last step, and we are going to place the dough that we have that should be a little bit wet onto our cornstarch. So it's sticking together, which is great, but there's still some of it that's a little bit liquidy and some of it that wanted to stick more to the bowl than it did the dough. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna knead this until we have a shapeable dough, which actually was pretty darn quick. So basically, if you can squeeze it and it'll stay in the shape, that is what ideally we are looking for. So we have our dough, and it is wonderful. So you can store this in an airtight container, which just means you can store it in anything from a plastic baggie that you suck all of the air out of to a Tupperware that you push all the air out of, to a jar, whatever you got at home, an airtight container of some kind to keep it soft. You can also make shapes with it like Play-Doh, let it air dry, and then use this as your soap to wash your hands. It does get soft if it gets wet again, so do keep that in mind. You're not going to want to sit it where it's going to get really wet all the time. You're going to want to make sure that you leave it in a nice dry area where it can actually dry out after you use it. All right, and that is Tween Project Play-Doh soap. Have fun. Like I said, next program that we've got going on is going to be it's going to be Summer Shenanigans at Williams Park, where we're going to do candle dipping, which is where you get a piece of wick, which is the center part of the candle, and you're going to dip it in and out of colors, making a bright and colorful candle that you get to take home with you. All right, and then after that, we've got the Tween Bake Off Savory, which is Amish white bread. Feel free, I believe there are still some spots open for that. Feel free to sign up, and then we'll see you in the month of July. Have a great time. Bye.